I am Kesten Rono, and today is day 120 of A Course in Miracles, completing our review. Miracles are seen in light. Miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. Light and joy and peace abide in me. I am as God created me. I am one self, united with my Creator. Salvation comes from my one self. I am spirit. I will accept my part in God's plan for salvation. Salvation is my only function here. My part is essential to God's plan for salvation. God's will for me is perfect happiness. I share God's will for happiness for me. God, being love, is also happiness. I seek but what belongs to me in truth. God's peace and joy are mine. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. And to give and to receive are one in truth. Lesson 120. For morning and evening review. I rest in God. You rest in God. Please repeat after me. I rest in God. I rest in God today, and let Him work in me and through me, while I rest in Him in quiet and in perfect certainty. I rest in God today, and let Him work in me and through me, while I rest in Him in quiet and in perfect certainty. We are reminded that we are mistaken when we think we can be hurt in any way. I am God's Son, whose self rests safely in the mind of God. Can you see yourself as a mind rather than as a body? Perhaps you can be both, of course, but can you see a possibility of your invisible self? What is this idea of your mind that is not your body? Perhaps you are this mind from the perspective of God, and from this mind's perspective, you do not follow the same arc that your body follows. Would you allow yourself to imagine that there is a story of your mind and there is a story of your body? Do they need to be the same when we know they are not the same? How could you be in perfect peace? How could you know everything you need to know? Well, you could already be there and not know it. That would be some of the faith portion, I imagine, of saying everything that is here is necessary and everything that is necessary is here. But as a mind connected to God, living in God, what does that mean? Living in love, born of love. Perhaps you could know more than what the body sees. And perhaps once you know more, it's not desirable that you wish you knew more still, that may be a function of the body itself, to not know, to discover itself. Nevertheless, if we are a mind, and if that mind may know, then we know that we are safe from the perspective of this mind. Where would this mind rest? This mind would rest in God. What is God? God is love. God is the source of the creation of what you are. God is your connection to this consciousness that you are experiencing in this body. So perhaps you can allow yourself to see yourself as a mind. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. I am mistaken when I think I can be hurt in any way. In fact, giving and receiving are fundamentally different in this truth, which resolves all errors in your mind. So, I rest in God. My mind, rests in God's mind, eternally, perfectly safe, in the realm of eternal knowledge, therefore knowing with certainty that it is successful in the name of truth, aligning with love and accepting things for what they are, so celebrating what can be seen in truth, and simply allowing that which is illusion to be what it is. I rest in God. I rest in God today and let Him work in me and through me, while I rest in Him in quiet and in perfect certainty. This is your permission to bring the quiet with you wherever you go. That is what you are and where you come from, if you believe you rest in God. So please repeat after me one more time. I rest in God. And finally, reviewing 110. I am as God created me. I am as God created me. Please repeat after me. I am as God created me. I am God's son. Today I lay aside all sick illusions of myself and let my Father tell me who I really am, capital W. I am God's son. Today I lay aside all sick illusions of myself and let my Father tell me who I really am. I am as God created me. What could this mean? This means you could be this mind. And perhaps you are like me, still attempting to give this idea some shape, even though it does not exist in the realm of shapes. Or so it seems. That our mind is something beyond the containers of 3D, of the body, of what it enjoys in time and space. So whatever it is that I am, is whatever I am recognizing in the invisible relative to this bodily experience. And perhaps that is contained in some shape, but I believe it is the idea that a shape is a container that limits this probability. That whatever I am is invisible relative to my bodily considerations. Therefore, it is something that I do not know. And so today we are announcing that we are no longer declaring whatever it is that we are, whatever it is, therefore, that we imagine is in our best interests in an unknown future that we can never plan for. That is certain. But we can feel through. And we can note our presence in the here and now, not living in some past illusion and emotion, nor in a future, but here. And we can notice what we gain access to by existing more calmly, quietly, reflectively, graciously, here, whenever we may notice a moment, however you want to categorize that. For me, sometimes they are simply walking outside and saying, wow. Wow. And I have felt differently about life before. Never would I wow something for inspiring me with life. So I am grateful for seeing differently than I have before. And I recognize that even though I saw differently before, I was uneasy, experiencing dis-ease relatively, that I craved something different, or I would not have been uncomfortable. I wasn't moving towards nothing, although in a way I have been moving towards recognizing how I was feeling as no thing at all. But how I could feel, how I feel now, existed then as well. And now I'm grateful for this, I crave this, and I'm grateful for how I was. However, at that time, I didn't crave the continuation of dis-ease. I was curious about ease. This infinite quiet that we are, this infinite safety that we may be in a timeless idea of ourselves, which does exist here and now, is forever. Here and now is forever. It is not bundled into a moment that is past, that is the past. Here and now persists, just like the truth persists, just like unconditional love persists. And you could say, well, fear persists. And I would say, perhaps. Fear is afraid of discovering something differently, and something different exists. So fear can exist, I suppose, afraid of something, but truth can exist on its own. It is the unconditional. This is what we have the ability to notice. This is what we might just believe that we are in part and worthy of, rather than shamefully, sinful, condemned in a physical shape, destined to die, and of course, completely able to prove that to ourselves. We may spend our whole lives in dis-ease, or we may be curious about seeing something differently. So we say, I am as God created me, with total openness. It's just true. We're just stating the truth. I am as God created me. Okay, that's true. You don't know how to define God, so we can relax it further. I am as I am created. I am as I am created, because we would agree that it is something to be like whatever we are, that you are something. I am something. This something has been created, so I am as I am created. The only questionable idea here is creation. Well, you didn't come from nothing, so however you buy that you are, you might imagine, especially associated physically, that you were not. You know that people come into the world through birth. So physically, they were not created and now they are. But in this physical experience, we enter into some question that requires that we step away from the physical experience only and recognize something that is different about what we are. Something that feels, that wishes to feel differently, that is curious about love, connection, peace, safety, and offering these ideas to others, that we feel uplifted when we do so. This doesn't have any physical law. And as we spend time with this, we gather glimpses of its timelessness. And all of a sudden, all the ideas that we had about being created through birth, like a mother and father, and we can see this cycle everywhere, that it doesn't exist, then it's visually there, we can feel it, we can eat it, it will pass. I have another elderly cat now who is doing fantastic, especially considering how much time she has been here physically. Nevertheless, some things change. She wasn't here before she was ever here for me, so she was created as a cat. But whatever these experiences are that we share with these living things that become our family, people as well, of course, they give us a hint that there is more to them than whatever the bundle is that we would say they are once they were created. That there is something else about whatever it is that you are that had to have had a creator, just like you subscribe to the model that you were created physically. When we discover inside of our physical selves some invisible self, some spiritual self. And as we spend more time with it, we realize that, oh, even though it breaks all the physical laws, maybe this physical self is actually inside this invisible self. I just can't see myself wrapped in this idea, everything wrapped in this idea. But if this idea is holy, then yes, I would like to see all life, including myself, through this holiness. So something changes. And of course, we enter into a realm of, okay, well, what is afterlife if I have a perspective that is beyond my body, and my body is what life ends? What will be then? Well, that's a funny time. That is the future. And we can see the past is not here right now. So we accept that right here, right now, is our best reference point to know anything. It's the point from which we observe everything. Well, right here, right now, appears to exist unaged forever, even if I didn't have the human perspective for it. But the human being the anchor for me having the conscious experience is a little bit in flux, to be determined. And we only know after we pass, oh, it was one way or the other, perhaps. We are discovering that there is a timeless component, and perhaps there is no such thing as before or after, that it is forever. And that is whatever we are as God created us. And what could create something that is timeless? Only something that is eternal. Do you accept that you cannot answer the question of what you are, but you are aware that it is something to be like whatever it is that you are? And if you're curious, well, maybe you're in the right spot. You're at least in the same spot as me. I am as God created me. On the hour, I rest in God. On the half hour, I am as God created me. Let's complete this practice, this review. Please, tonight, when you sleep, or if you do this when you wake up, I'm sure forgiveness is part of it. I rest in God. You're in Him. You work through Him. He works through you. You get to exist quietly and in peace and still exist. I am as God created me. Today, I lay aside all sick illusions of myself and let my Father tell me who I really am. I am open to guidance from the mighty voice of truth about what really is. And if I am this eternal mind, then I am curious about the thoughts that precede my life in this fraction of time, and what that means about how I feel and how I see time in general, life in general, and how I may offer it more peace and whatever else it is that I am in this eternal realm of knowingness without its confusions and complications that offer us such variety today. I am Kesten Rono, and I am as God created me.